So what's up, guys? As I told you yesterday, I'm going today to interpret the results of the company that I did a video yesterday. That is Sonangol, an Angolan company that I'm using them for my final project in high school. As I told you guys, I'm doing an accounting high school. So in my final project, they suggest us topics and I just choose a topic that I'm going to do a projection of one company, and this company is one of the largest company and one of that provides more revenue or net income for the country in total. That is Sonangol, as we have here. As I said, first I pull up some historical, as we have here, historical, that is historical income statements, as you guys can see here from the past 5 years, and the more optimal um, forecast that I did is this for the next, from the data from the past 3 years, that is 2021, 2023, and 2023, and project for the next 3 years also, 2024, 2025, 2026, and we have here the forecast for the next 5 years based on the past 5 years, also historical income statement, as we have here, 2029, 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and I just did the assumptions as I told you guys yesterday and explained those assumptions. I think that the audio in the past video was really bad, and the music in the background was also, you guys listen also the music in the background, and I'm really sorry because of that, but I just will not delete the video because it's for educational purpose for me and for you guys. And I know that there is not much guys here there seeing the videos. It's just me doing my things and reviewing, and it's more for me just to learn what I'm doing. So yeah, and also improve some of my English knowledge. And I see that I'm getting better because I can just be in a 1 hour or 30 minutes video just talking in English. And I think you guys also can understand me a little bit. So I have this past 5 years historical data and project for also the next 5 years, that is 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, no, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, and 2028, basically. Yeah, and I'll give you guys some insights from the results that I found based on those forecasts, because I think, as I told you guys in the past video, um this is one of the largest companies here in Angola, and they are also one of the companies. Basically, the others are in the same situation, but they have a really randomness results. How you guys saw in the past, results or percentage of growth and those things, as you guys saw in the past video, which is a really bad thing because the country Angola basically depends almost 80% or 70% of the revenue or the net income made by the oil that who the company that sells oil basically is the Sonangol. So it's not good for a company like this with this responsibility to have those random results and random percentage of growth. Basically, to they have to apply strategies to basically keep their costs small. As we can see, in the assumptions, that is premisas, is the same. We can see that for the COGS, as we can see here, that is the cost of goods sold in English, or the custos das mercadorias vendidas in Portuguese. We can see that we started, we did this metric based as percentage of revenue, as I told you in the past video, and we can see that in the first year, that is 2019, we can see the COGS as percentage of revenue being 19%, which is not that big, but it also is a little bit big, but it's not that big. But it's okay. It's okay. We can consider 90% of revenue is spending in COGS, which is good. And they just made a small margin of a small no, a big one margin of 71, I think, in 71, is that? Or 81? I don't know, guys. I think it's 81. 81. Yeah, it's 81. 81% of gross profit margin or gross margin. So, which is really good, and they can improve it also. But we can see that for 2020, of course, it's COVID and those things in 2020, that those fundamental fundamental things and things that we can predict. They of course they have to have some margins or some cash or some reserves for those things, but yeah, they spend a little bit more in COGS, or the custo das mercadorias vendidas in Portuguese, about 26%, which is not a large number, but we have to be careful because this percentage are growing. So something it's not good. And 2021, after the COVID, we can also see some this number growing basically and going to 28%. 2022, it increased for 35, and 2023, it increased for 37%, which suggests that for the next 5 years or 3 years or whatever you guys are forecasting, for me, it was for the next 5 years for these assumptions. And we can see that this number tends to grow all over the years. I did a median, as you guys can see here. I did a median of those numbers to get my forecast, but being realistical, um, this is going to be the annual growth probably for the annual growth, no, but the annual margin for the next 5 years, it's going to be in this average. But of course, this number is going to grow. I mean, it can't grow like in this year, that is 2024, that we are now. It can increase for 40%. It's not going to be a surprise if we see that in the 10K or the annual report of this year, because the past results or the past margins show us that this margin grows all over the time, which is not good, as I told you guys in the past video, but it's the trend that Sonangol is trailing, and they have to to get this part of the company, that is the COGS, the cost of goods sales, or the custo das mercadorias vendidas. They have to apply strategies, more efficiency to cut some COGS, the COGS margin, because if it maintains like it is now, this number is just going to grow all over the years, which is not good, and can, I don't know, for the next 10 years or 50 years, 15 years, it can grow for I don't know, like 60%, which is a really large number, and uh the cogs shouldn't be in those big margins. So they have to apply strategies to cut some cogs. And yeah, interpreting the results, first we are going to interpret their past results, and we can first go to the past 3 years. Um, so let me just uh, put it well, and yeah, now we can just zoom in for the income statement of 2021, as you can see here, 2022 and 2023. We can see that they they really grew, actually grew, I think it's grew, or they grow their revenue from sales by they increase their revenue in sales, like it's 5 trillion kwanzas, which is, as I said in the past video, some couple of millions in dollars. So yeah, it's a really weak currency. So those large numbers are just a couple of $1 million. So yeah, we can see that they made 5 trillion kwanzas in 2021, 6 trillion in 2022, and 7 trillion in 2023, which shows that talking about sales, they are making they are making progress with their sales, and they are making they are having a significant growth in sales. So their problem is not basically in the sales, because we can see that those margins or this growth is really stable, and we can see that in huge companies like Tesla and Coca-Cola and those companies, the growth is also like this, like they made 5 trillion in 1 year, 6 trillion in another, because they have to combat the I don't know this in English. I think it's the inflation. Yeah, the inflation. So they can't make the same money they made in the past year, because they are not going to have um the same capability to buy the same things that they bought in the past year. I don't know if you guys understood me, but they have to grow all over the years and combat the inflation, for them to still have a margin to buy the things that they bought in past year and make revenue. Yeah, like make revenue and increase also their net income. So we can see that from sales, they are making a really good progress. They are increasing their sales, which is good, and their problem is not in the sales. Um, for the service provider, for for the clients, we can see that they also grow their numbers. Like for 2022 was not a really big year, because they basically decreased by, I don't know, 2 billion, I think 2 billion kwanzas, but they basically grew this number by almost 100% for 2023, which shows that in the past 3 years they are making money. In the overall, they are making money by the service provider, for clients, and the sales. The sales really shows a huge um, a huge increase in sales, a really growth in sales, and for service provider also. And for the other operating revenue, we can see that for 2022 was not a really big year also. It just decreased almost 100% also. And for the 2023, basically it came back for the 42 billion, which we can see that in the total revenue, we can see that this number also grows all over the years. We had 5 trillion, 6 trillion, and then 7 trillion, which shows us that this company, as I said, they make money, they can stable their revenues. So it's a good point, but their problem, as we can see here, it's not in the sales. They can maintain the percentage of growth in sales. So yeah, it's a good point. We can see here in the variação nos produtos acabados e nas vias de fabrico. I'm going to speak it in Portuguese, yeah, because some words I don't know in English. So yeah, we can see that for 2021 we had a positive number of 43 billion. For 2022, we had a decrease in this number by almost 100%, by 31 billion. And for 2023, we increased this number, just as you can see here, for 2 billion, and showing us that um, this number is still positive, this margin. I think they are growing in this area. We don't have here, I think we have in the assumptions here, and so yeah. For the COGS, that is the custo das licencias vendidas, we can also see a growth in their COGS, as we can see here, that are following the growth of the revenue. Yeah. The custo das atividades mineiras, we can see that it decreased, which is good. They're applying strategies for cut their costs, and it increased back in 2022. The custos com pessoal, that is the salaries. We can see that it's stable values in 2022 to 2022, and for 2023, this number just increased by more 100 billion. For the amortization, that is the depreciation and amortization, they're spending basically it's a non-cash expenditure, but yeah, we can see that it's minus 1 trillion and minus 900 billion for 2022, and minus 1 trillion for 2023, which shows us that this number is decreasing, but it's just increased in 2023, but it's not it's not bigger than the 2021 value. In the other costs, we can see that this number is also increasing. So they have a really big problem, or not a big problem, but we can see that their operating expenditures, their COGS and their operating expenditures are really huge or huge, yeah, because they are also increasing their revenue, as we saw in this line, but they are also increasing a lot their operating expenditures and their COGS, which is a not good sign. And as we saw in the past, in the assumptions of the past 5 years, they are also increasing their margin of COGS, and depreciation amortization is being stable, but in the other operating expenditures has salaries and other costs. They are increasing basically by the double. They're doubling their costs year by year, which is not a good sign. As you can see here, the first we had 200 billion in 2022, and you have 500 billion in 2023, which contributes for their how do I say for their negative result in the long term, and they are increasing a lot their their costs. We can see here that they spend basically about 4 trillion in the operating expenditures plus COGS, and this number just decreased in 2022 and increased in 2023, which show us that they are really increasing their COGS in their operating expenditures for financial results by interest and those things. We can see that it's 700 billion um for 2021, a minus 100 billion for 2022, and a minus 500, which suggests us that they are basically they are not making money with interest in the long run, as we can see here. They just made 700, okay, but they lose about 600 in 2022 and in 2023, which is not good, but okay. They also have investments, as you can see here. Their results in investments, we can see that this number it's more stable, 42 billion, 34, and they grow this number in 2023, thank God, which contribute for their positive result, like for 400 billion, which is good. Um, Non-operating revenue, you can see 200 billion, 5 billion, and 500 billion. Okay, good for non-operating revenue. We can see here that their results pre-taxes or before taxes. It's a good number. It's like 1 trillion in revenue or in EBT that they are making by years, as we can see here. It's a basically a little bit stable results, but still decreasing by years. We can see that we made 1.8 billion, 1.4 and 1.3 billion in we know they made in 2023. So this number is decreasing. It's still 1 trillion, but this number is decreasing. So yeah. The taxes, here we have the taxes. I don't know why they paid more taxes when in this year, because the revenue, the EBT just decreased, but yeah. Okay. And for net income, basically they made this number is decreasing. As we can see here, the net income for 2021 was 1.3 trillion, and that's decreased this number for uh, billions kwanzas. Basically, they made 800 billion in 2022 and 900 billion in 2023, which suggests us for these assumptions that we have here. This is the assumption that I made for the second method that I used for project their results or do the forecasts. And I just project or did the forecast with the margins because I thought that it was the right thing to do. Because of the not stable results of the company. With doing the forecast with those numbers, we can see that they have a little bit stable results. It's not stable, but a little bit stable results. We can see that, yeah, the COGS is growing, of course, but those are more stable results comparing from minus 1000% that they made, or the plus 1000% that they are making from other results, as we can see here. So for the projection, I just use in this case, I use these assumptions. That is the average um, of those growths in the past years, as you can see here. This is the media, that is average in English. Um, the average, as we can see here. Yeah, this is the average. So seeing the forecast that I made, as we can see here, so this is the historical sales, the historical service provider, and the historical other other operating revenues, and you can see here this, and we just project for the next uh 3 years. You can see that the growth was 90%, as we can see here, and I just project for the next 5 years, for 3 years, expecting that they're going to maintain this growth of in average 90%, which looking from the past, we can see that their growth is stable. Yeah, their growth in sales is stable. So I think it's realistical. Those are realistical assumptions. Um, so we can also see that for the service provider, I'm also expecting this growth of 42% per year, which you can see here, and the sum of it. And here we can see also the growth of minus 100%, which is really, really huge number. But okay. The COGS has percentage of revenue. That this number is also increasing year by year, but it's okay. It's okay now. They have to apply strategies to minimize this gap that they are having, and I just did it as percentage of revenue, increasing increasing because the revenue is also increasing. So yeah, um, the atividade mineira I also saw the growth of it, the salaries and the amortization that was basically that increased by 1% per year, basically in average for the past 3 years. You can see that the margin, the net income that we have here are really big because of these weird returns that we had in here in the what is this? In non-operating results. That's why like I'm considering this as a forecast, but it's not a really valid forecast because it's like it's such an impossible thing, even for the largest company like Apple's and those companies. Like we never saw like their results increasing by 1000% or something like that. So I think it's not a sustainable thing. So, but yeah, I used it as assumptions, and you can see that their net income is increasing a lot, like from 900 billion for trillion, 40 trillion, and 400 trillion basically. And for the other, we can see that is basically the opposite of what we did. We can see here that the sales are also increasing all over the year because in 2020, of course, they had a small decrease, but they they fortunately they can maintain their sales, so in growth them. For the service provider, it's basically the same. They are growing all over the years. Of course, they had these two down years comparing from this, but in 2023 they made money, and basically they they grow by almost 100%. And for service, other other revenue, we can see also some growth or sustainable results. Yeah. And for the total revenue, we can see also a small growth on these numbers. Yeah, a small growth on these numbers. Um, for the EBIT, we can see a negative number in the year of COVID-19, which is not a surprise because of the crisis in the phase of COVID-19. We can also see a little bit a little bit growth here in 2021 to 2022, and a little bit the price or the EBIT just decreased a little bit in 2023. So yeah, but in the long run, they are making money. So yeah. Um, for the EBT, they had negative results for 2019, 2020, and they just decreased they increased first in 2021 and started decreasing in 2022 and 2023. And basically this number um those numbers, we can see that this company is not a sustainable, and they don't have sustainable results because they had just a positive year in 2019. Of course, they had a negative year in 2020. In 2021, they made money, and for 2022, they decreased a little bit. In 2022, they increased a little bit also. So it's weird, and that a country that depends all in this company, because even they are not sustainable. So it's like such impossible thing that a country is going to be sustainable with just this company generating revenue and net income for them. So yeah, we can see that it's a really